I'm Simon Robinson, and I'm the co-author of the book Holonomics, Business Where People and Planet Matter, and I'm also the co-founder of a consultancy, Holonomics Education.
Explain the name to me.
Holonomics, the holo, it comes from the word wholeness. And so what we're doing in our book, we're really trying to develop economics, or our understanding of economics, from a profound sense of wholeness, an understanding of wholeness that comes from a deep contemplation of wholeness in nature and reality. So really, one of the problems we're trying to answer, one of the questions we're trying to answer is, why are people so destructive? Why do they harm the environment? And also in terms of how we are when we're in networks, when we're in human networks, why do we act the way we do towards other people? Why do we become threatened? Why do we try and suppress people? And it's really because we never really truly have an experience of wholeness. We experience life as fragmented and separate from the other. So we don't really truly live our human values because we experience nature and other people as other, and we don't have this deep sense of wholeness. So in Holonomics, we're not trying to talk about sustainability, we're trying to lead people into a very profound experience of wholeness, and that changes our consciousness, that changes who we are, it changes how we relate to other people. And so our definition of sustainability is the quality of our relationships. It's about the quality of our relationship to the environment, to the planet, the quality of our relationships to other people, and the quality of relationship to ourselves.
Wow, very well stated.
Yeah.
I'm just going to change the shot. That's it. That's really... The next question is really how... I'm just going to change a little setting here. How did you find yourself in this world? What was it that inspired you to get into this? And obviously you've made it your life's work.
Yeah. In terms of what really inspired Holonomics, I need to stress that it's co-authored with my wife Maria, and she is a very deep and soulful person, and she brought a lot of the aspects of Holonomics, which is the 5 universal human values of peace, truth, love, right action and non-violence. She really lives this, and she's really helping introduce these human values into organizations. She's been a huge inspiration in my life, obviously, but in terms of me, I think one of my key missions in life is to help people experience wholeness, because this is what I'm trying to achieve myself, this deep understanding of wholeness. And I would say one of the key people who completely transformed my understanding was a philosopher called Henri Bortoft. In the 1950s, Henri Bortoft studied the issue of wholeness in quantum physics as a postdoctoral student under the physicist David Bohm. And from then, in the 1960s, he took this conception of wholeness in quantum physics, and he started studying phenomenology, which is a philosophical school of thought which really studies experience, yeah? And he also then studied hermeneutics, and hermeneutics is the study of meaning. And for me, the phenomenal thing about Henri Bortoft was that he was taking these really deep insights from some of the world's greatest philosophers, but philosophers who themselves struggled to articulate these very important insights for the common person. Often philosophers, they take no prisoners, their audience is other philosophers, and for me, I felt a great frustration because there's something very deep here and important. But Henri, he was an independent teacher. He wasn't associated with any university. So his whole life and the way he wrote was very meditative, taking people into the experience of wholeness. And when I studied him and Henri taught me, he completely changed the way I was seeing, because I had a scientific upbringing, and when we're scientific, we start with an intellectual theory. We then look at nature and reality, and we start to break nature up into parts, into fragments that are based on our own theoretical understanding of nature. And we start to reduce nature into parts, and we try and isolate one single cause. And once we've isolated one single cause, we then try and do these controlled artificial experiments to see if what the effect is of that particular cause. But that's not really the only way of truly understanding nature. You can't, as soon as you start to fragment a whole in nature, like a plant, and separate the leaves and the stem and the petals, you've lost the essential quality of that thing, which is life and livingness. And this is what I was talking about today. There's another way of relating to sensing and studying nature where you don't lose the livingness, the quality of life in nature. And that way, when you work and study with nature this way, which is the way that Henri taught, you maintain this incredible connection to nature, and as well as having an intuition of the living processes within organic dynamic systems, at the same time you experience an expansion in your heart, and you also experience the perception of nature. It's almost as if you're using a new organ of perception that you never really knew existed inside of yourself. And this is the expansion of consciousness that Maria and I take business people through to really help them see and relate and understand nature, people and reality in a much more profound way, and then it completely changes what they're doing in business.
When you were talking to the group today, I'm assuming the GSN group is a lot more, compared to a lot of the folks that you deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already on that kind of path and are searching for. What kind of feeling did you get from the audience today? And you've been here a couple of days. What kind of feeling are you getting about this group and kind of your message and how it's being received, that kind of thing?
Well, of course, the brilliant thing about the Congress is that there's already been 2 days of hiking into Yosemite. For me, it's been an incredible experience. So GSN, we're not just talking about being in nature. We're not just talking. We're doing the doing as well, and that's been a great experience for me to meet some of them, not just the board members, but other members. Maybe directors of spas, managers, owners of spas. They're coming from the way they see their business and what they want to achieve. It's wonderful. They're coming from the heart, but they're still having challenges, of course. Maybe the business owners are more focused on the financial aspects of the business rather than the true deep proposition, which is how as a business, how as a network in spas, how can we truly help and be of service to people, give them a deeply healing experience or relaxing experience, which is the true proposition of a spa. And so what I'm trying to do over the course of 2 days is show people, well, you know what, I deal with these people day in, day out. So I'm introducing some tools and techniques that I actually use with these people to really help them develop their deeper way of seeing. And as I said, if we can work together with the leadership of these particular businesses and really take them through this learning journey, then these particular business leaders start to see the managers and the directors in a new light. They start to see each and every person working in a spa, or maybe it's a hotel that has a spa, in a new light, and they start to understand that it's not just about the money, it's the deep experience that we can offer people, because life is a journey, and if we can really help the owners of their spas deeply connect with the essence and understand how the essence of the spa is expressed through each and every person and part and product, then we can help the leadership become more creative and develop wonderful new business opportunities, but where people and planet matter. And of course, it's all about vital planet and vital people. And so there's nothing wrong with growing a business, developing a business, if it's a healing business, or if it's really helping humanity and the planet as a whole. And this is what we're trying to achieve. And if your sole purpose in life is just focusing on the money side, then you may be not able to go into that deep creative space to really understand how your own business could potentially evolve and reach a more deeper potential. Because we were talking this morning about this is the definition of a success. What is your definition of success? Is it just the finance and the money and the shareholder value, or is there something really much more remarkable?
It was really interesting. I thought that there were several things you talked about that really touched me, and the one particular, the hospital that you work with, which you cited as an example of your work. And that one thing you said, the thing that really got me was that they, when someone comes in an ambulance, they get down to their level and welcome them instead of standing. Talk to me about how that might be that kind of activity might translate into the spa industry. I mean, you sort of touched on that.
Yeah, in the spa industry, it's interesting, not every single business leader really looks at every single part of the customer experience. Often they'll be focused on, I believe the technical term is the menu of treatments available. It's like, how do we compare with our competitors? Have we got a new treatment available? And it's like, okay, they treat their business in terms of products and services. And that's fine, that's important, of course it is. But then the truly inspirational business leader will really work hard and understand every single aspect of the customer experience. And in order to truly deliver an outstanding customer experience, you need every single person in the organization expressing the essence of the brand, of the product, of the service that you're trying to achieve. And so, as I said, it's quite an interesting example, saying that the customer experience of a patient at the hospital starts from when the ambulance doors open. And so really what we talked a lot about the lived experience, and sometimes if you just use maybe questionnaires, that's one way of understanding if you're being successful or not with the products and services that you offer. But we often need a much deeper reflection that looks at the whole experience as an unfragmented experience. And when we do experience our products and services as fragmented, maybe there are parts of the experience that we don't realize are important to our customers. And this is the creative thing. The people who know what part of the experience are the most important experience for customers often aren't the business owners. It's the people who have the daily contact with the clients. So the quality of the relationship between the spa owner and every single person at every single level is so important. And there's another wonderful example. I was talking to the head of the hospital, Dr. Paulo Chap, about leadership. And again, in the talk I was saying, in Brazil, the social hierarchy is a lot more pronounced than maybe in the US or in the UK. And he has a very interesting definition of leadership. And it was interesting, he said in the 1974 World Cup, it was Brazil versus Italy. And the final result was, I think, 3-1 to Brazil. He said, Simon, go onto YouTube and watch the final goal of Brazil, because before the final kick of the ball, there must have been 7 or 8 Brazilian players who each touched the ball and passed the ball on to another player. And he said, this is the philosophy of leadership. So think about maybe a cleaner or a very junior nurse, and they go into the room of a patient and they notice that maybe something isn't quite right. This temperature's wrong, a light bulb is broken, maybe they need a blanket, or the food hasn't arrived. Often in Brazil, it's very difficult for someone quite low down in a hierarchy to tell a doctor or a senior nurse or a manager, you know what, this isn't quite right, or the patient needs this. It's difficult. But what they do at the hospital, they say every single person has the right to be the leader at that moment in time. So just as in terms of who is the leader in the Brazilian football team, it's the person with the ball. The leader is the person with the ball in the hospital. So they work really hard with, the senior managers to say, look, that person has the right to be the leader and they have the right to be listened to. And this way together, it's a much more fluid concept of leadership, rather than leadership as these are the people at the top giving orders. And that way, the customer experience is always full of care, because it's not just enough for one person to see that there's a problem. Often they're not the person who can solve the problem, but they can take leadership at that particular moment in time.
You're really passionate about. I mean, what is it about this work that? I mean, that's a question I like to ask people, because I can just tell by your just everything you're being, that you are really into this.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't want to sound egotistical, but I believe, because I talked a lot about Plato, and absolutely there's an element of standing on the shoulders of giants, but if I do have a skill or something, I believe that I do believe that I have somehow understood the original insights of some of the greatest teachers, not intellectually. There was a connection, and I'll describe the insight as, do you remember those, I can't remember what they're called, those pictures where it just looks like random dots, and you look at it, it's just, this is random dots, this is random dots, and all of a sudden a three-dimensional image appears. That was Magic Eye paintings. And it was a bit like that. I realized that I myself had been stuck in the intellectual mode of knowing. I myself had experienced life I was too much stuck in my head. And Plato and this dynamic way of understanding wholeness, I saw I know maybe on the video we can't see, but we're surrounded by trees. It's like, my God, I'm no longer experiencing the concept, the concept tree. I'm now suddenly connecting with the livingness of these trees, and it just completely changed my relationship with nature and other people. And if I talk with enthusiasm, it's because I truly believe that this is a solution. So it doesn't matter what the problem is. Maria and myself, we work with strategy, innovation, change management, and profound programs of change and sustainability and leadership. No matter what the business issue is, I really truly believe that these deep insights, they can be applied to each of these areas of a business to really truly transform the business, because I feel strongly that there is this, people do live lives of fragmentation and separation, and it's powerful. The way we're mainly based in Brazil, working with some very, very major national organizations, banks, and also conglomerates that are involved in potentially quite destructive industries: mining, energy, metals, agriculture. But there's something now, there's something about our ability to express ourselves where people at the highest levels of these organizations are listening, and they're really relating to the message, and they themselves are discovering that they were trying to solve problems from maybe a more limited level of consciousness. And when we do help business leaders especially go through this expansion of consciousness, then they're truly, someone once said, we're opening up a new window on the world for them, literally. You know, they're like, oh my God, I can see so much more. And so I think my enthusiasm, I started off with this belief, and so for the last few years, after I founded my consultancy with the mission of helping people understand the dynamic concept of wholeness, I see people reacting, and that helps. That really helps, you know, develop your belief. And I'm always searching for new ways of expressing myself. You know, I'm never complacent. This is why I talked about sometimes we need to create games, because through games or through stories we understand complex connections that in other ways, you know, with methodologies and frameworks we can't quite understand. So yeah, I have this deep belief that if we could return to this experience of wholeness, it would change our whole relationship with people and nature.
Wow, anything else? Like I said, I could talk to you for an hour. We've done 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
is there anything else about GSN, about this experience, about being down in Yosemite, anything that occurs to you as we sit here that you might want to share?
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember Paul first getting in touch with me, and you know, I'm British, I'm based in Brazil. I didn't know about GSN, so you know, I did a little bit of research. I asked Paul to tell me about, well, who are the members? Can you tell me about your sponsors? So you know, I started to learn more about, okay, not just the spa business, but some of these very special spas. You know, you go to the websites, you look at their propositions, and it is a very special congress. I think the co-founder Michael, I was talking to him, and you know, he was just saying these people, they really are full of heart, and you really sense it. It's very different to speaking and doing a workshop at a business conference in more traditional businesses. And for me, I think it's not so much a message, it's just I have this deep feeling of gratitude for the invitation. I've wanted to come to Yosemite for a long time, and for me, I was just standing on one of the domes. You get a 360-degree view. I just stood on a rock on the top of the dome, and I just thought, you know, I still obviously have challenges in life that you wish to overcome, but it's like I'm so grateful that, you know, I've had this invitation, and I myself have had the opportunity to not just share, but also listen and come together as a congress in union. And it's a huge experience for a speaker to have an audience hold the space for you. So you know, sometimes there are business people that are cross their arms, or they're checking their smartphones, and they're like, you know, impress me. No, there's something very special about this particular audience. They know that I'm trying to articulate deep insights that come from an intuitive space, and that are not always so easy to articulate if the energy isn't quite there, if the audience are antagonistic. And for me, you know, it was just wonderful to really be able to trust that they could cope with, you know, my really kind of quite strange examples. And I think there was one woman, she said, oh yeah, you were going here and you're going there, and then it's like, boof, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. And it's like I wouldn't have been able to really articulate myself without that deeply caring sense of holding the space while I was talking. So I'm just absolutely full of gratitude. It's been a wonderful experience for me to, you know, sort of break out of the more normal business environments, which are important. You know, someone really has to go to the more difficult businesses and talk about peace, truth, love, right action and non-violence. That's not an easy message. But here it's just, I can really play. I think I told Paul, I just want to play in the keynote, you know, and hopefully people will go with it. And then, you know, this afternoon, tomorrow, then we'll really ground it and do the really practical stuff and say, okay, what are the challenges? What does this mean for you at work? So yeah, it's been a wonderful experience so far, and we're still only halfway through. There's still a lot more to come.